Hey everyone, welcome to another video. Today we're going to talk about issue number 12 of The Phoenix from the Ashes, written by Stephanie Phillips and art by Marco Renna. But before we dive into the story, I want to ask you a favor. If you enjoy this video, please leave a like and a comment to help the channel grow. Up to this point, Jean Grey, the host of the Phoenix Force, followed a path of destruction, but now, Jean has embraced her role and reclaimed the power for her own, using it to define the universe as the Phoenix. Now the Phoenix has taken flight once more to bring balance to the cosmos. However, during her cosmic guardianship, Jean Grey was shocked to receive a psychic message from SARA, her long-dead sister. Using the Phoenix Force to access the White Hot Room, Jean found her sister alive and well in an intergalactic mutant sanctuary called Greyhaven. Now Greyhaven is where SARA uses her mutant ability to unlock the latent potential of other mutants. Jean has been given an offer to stay in Greyhaven with her sister and rebuild their family, but how did SARA get here exactly? So with that said, this issue opens with a flaming ship crashing in the woods before Ellerin 7, on year 11 of the Thales Civil War. And following a massive explosion, on the next page, we see a fire team approaching the remains of the craft. As the leader said, "I'm going to deploy the bioscanner before we get too close." Because at this point in time, they have no idea what the Loyalists are truly capable of. So with the bioscanner deployed, it quickly got to work and began to do its job, which led to organic matter not being detected. But just because the device didn't find a living person on the destroyed ship, it didn't mean someone wasn't previously on it. After a brief look around, the leader found a set of footprints that led him to a woman in white. And as he watched her, this strange woman started to say, "The stars whispered my name and now the doors are open." For this woman is named SARA Grey. So with that established, we then get a narration that went as follows: "My name is SARA Grey, and I was never extraordinary. I was born into a world filled with mutants. Kids my own age developed powers unlike anything the world had ever seen before, kids like my sister Jean. I was there when her telepathic powers activated, and I was there when she became trapped in her mind and in constant psychic pain. I watched my parents struggle to help her and, at times, lost hope that there was any path forward. And yet, if I'm being totally honest, despite all of the pain, confusion, and anger, I often used to think about how different my life would have been if it were me. If I were the one who had superpowers, what kind of hero would I have been?" And on the next page, we get a small look at the kind of person SARA was when growing up. Because during this interaction between sisters, Jean approached her sister extremely upset because Jean wanted to know why her sister threw the game. And to that, SARA just replied by saying, she didn't throw the game, but she is happy that her friend on the other team did win, due to it being her last game before moving. So with SARA's selflessness on display as a child, we then transition back to her current situation post-crash. And when we get there, we see SARA in a medical bay getting checked out by a doctor that is saying her heart rate and vitals are all normal, and she doesn't know what to tell the leader, because the machines don't lie. Now on a side note, this leader's name is Kel. But anyway, with that information out there, Kel started to freak out and shouted, she was in a crash, and you can't tell me she doesn't even have a scratch on her. I don't know how or why, but I know this has something to do with the Loyalists. She's a spy or some kind of new living weapon. But before Kel could list off any other possible reasons for SARA's sudden arrival, the doctor cut him off and replied by saying, "Look, biologically speaking, there is nothing that would indicate she has been physiologically altered. No surgical scars, nothing hidden on her or in her. If the Loyalists sent her." But just like Kel, before the doctor could finish her explanation, SARA interrupted her and simply stated, "They didn't, no one sent me." Now this sudden outburst led Kel to shoot back with a question of his own, which was, "How did you get here, and where did you come from?" So with nothing to hide, SARA went on to tell the truth and said, "I remember speaking on television under bright lights. And I remember Paul, my husband, he was worried about it, worried that speaking out would make me a target." Now, just to add some context to this, SARA's husband was scared of repercussions from SARA saying, "Mutants are human, like you and me. And it's criminal that they should be harassed in this fashion." And sadly enough, he was right to feel that way, for on the next page, after work, something indeed happened. SARA continued to say, "I was worried too. Anti-mutant hate was the norm, and when bad things happened to mutants and their sympathizers, everyone was willing to look the other way. I was a mother, a wife, a regular person just trying to make it through the day, but that's why I had to say something. Because if the regular people say nothing, that's when hate truly wins. And if it wasn't an anti-mutant hate group called the Purifiers trying to rid the world of mutants, it was someone else. Someone else is allowing fear to dictate their decision-making. The purifiers were so afraid of losing control, of being wrong, of the world changing around them that they were willing to make a deal with the devil. A devil by the name Cameron Hodge. One of the most vocal anti-mutant activists who claimed mutants were a threat to freedom. His blind hatred turned to outright violence, and he sought to destroy mutant kind. And Hodge's goal of mutant extermination only seemed that much more achievable when he encountered the Phalanx, a techno-organic species that lives to assimilate the people and technologies of other planets. Hodge saw this as a way to purify his mutant problem. The Phalanx technology would reprogram all of Earth's mutants, wiping them from existence and adding the mutants to the collective hive mind of the Phalanx. So as everyone writhed in pain, SARA then went on to say, "I don't regret standing up for mutant rights. And I didn't do it just because Jean is my sister. I did it because it was the right thing to do. And I learned from Jean that the right thing to do is not always easy. Like blocking the Phalanx from my mind and keeping them from the most important and private parts of me, to spare the rest of my family. But the last thing I heard, the last thing the Phalanx told me before it went black, was that Jean Grey is dead." And from that point forward, SARA couldn't remember anything else, including how she got to wherever she currently is. So after all of that explained, Kel outstretched his hands and went on to say, "See, maybe she's not a bioweapon, but she's something. We should never have brought her here." And after a brief pause, SARA turned to look at the soldier and said, "And now the doors are open," as her eyes began to glow. And after a single touch, something strange started to happen to the man, as SARA's inner narration stated, "Was it in me all along? The normal kid from New York, the normal wife, the normal mom, the normal sister to the most powerful mutant in the galaxy." Because this single touch granted Kel unforeseen powers that were hidden deep within him. And just like that, SARA's power was discovered, because SARA's inner dialogue went on to say, "A normal girl turned saint, or that's how they saw me anyway. The people who came from all over the galaxy for my help in unlocking their potential mutant abilities." So with that explained, we then jump back to the current day, with SARA talking with Jean, because up to this point in this issue, SARA was breaking down how everything came to be. Then SARA went on to say, "This is a safe place for all mutants and mutant sympathizers, and with their powers unlocked, the rebels were able to take back this planet from the loyalist government that was oppressing them. And Captain Keldros Verrick has remained one of my most trusted friends ever since." So as one would expect, this was a lot for Jean to take in, especially because throughout this story, her sister survived death not just once, but several times. And hopefully, she would survive it at least one more time before this story is over, because on the next page, a blast came flying into the room and hit her center mass. For that blast came from none other than Cable. And with that said, this issue of the Phoenix comes to an end with Cable saying, "Sounds pretty unbelievable if you ask me. I need you to understand your own lie, or else I'll have to make you understand." Now down in the comment section below, let me know your thoughts about this issue and what predictions you could have moving forward. So with that established, I hope you enjoyed this video, and please don't forget to leave a like and a comment if you want to see more videos like this. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.